Hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn history, today Oceania, and after we've done it, we're gonna do stretching. And if you participate in the stretching, then it's better to honest. This is part 3, I think. The people of Oceania, the region of the Pacific, Northern Australia, Southern Asia, are known for being great seafarers of the ancient world. And up until 5,000 years ago, Tasmania, Australia, and New Guinea were connected as one big continent because the sea levels were lower. And then, 50,000 years there came people from Southeast Asia over, settling in Australia. With boats as we come over. Many of the sites which we lived and I want to have a chronology. 50,000 years ago, they came over. We're going to start with it. And the oldest settlements are found in New Guinea, the oldest settlement is in New Guinea, and that is 40,000 years old. And there would be more old settlements, but 5,000 years ago, the sea levels had risen so far that Tasmania, New Guinea, and Australia were no longer connected over land. And so many of the sites are today underwater. That's the first part, and then we're having 6,000 years ago. That's one other thing, was 7,000 years ago. With a connecting land bridge. 6,000 years ago came many domesticated plants and animals over to New Guinea. And people were doing farming, and for example, the fields in the area of Cook Swamp drained. But many people remained farmers, many people. Cook Swamp, K-U-K. 6,000 years ago came many domesticated plants and also animals over from Southern Asia to New Guinea. And farming was done, and also the swamps drained in Cook Swamp, for example. And just emphasize how the really possible continuous sense. And when it is also no, that doesn't really make sense. Many people stay to be hunters. 4,000 years ago, people sailed in canoes from Indonesia to colonize Malaysia and Micronesia, the islands of the Western Pacific such as Vanuatu. We're going to mention it later. Okay, now that place we're going to mention it. People have found in 50,000 year old painting in a cave in Australia, and it matches other paintings of canoes which are shown on the picture on this painting. This painting of canoes, and these depictions of canoes are measuring other ones which are found all over the Pacific, even in the Amazon jungle, indicating that people of the same culture sailed in such like canoes from one place to the other. And also to other one. And we now also, for example, did 4,000 years ago, the people from Indonesia sailed over to Melanesia and Micronesia, and also to Vanuatu in the Pacific. Melanesia, Micronesia, Vanuatu. And for example, 4,000 years ago, the people sailed from Indonesia to Melanesia, Micronesia, and Vanuatu. Melanesia, Micronesia. But they were also doing other things, pottery, for example, and the people of the Maluka Islands of Indonesia. But they were also doing other things, pottery, for example, the people of the Maluka Islands were doing were known early Melanesians. Other things, the early Melanesians are known for. There were other things. In the Maluka Islands originated a type of pottery and called the Lapita, and that is called Lapita. That is according to Metzger's World History. Okay. Where's the region? When 50,000 years ago, the settling over. When 7,000, when the oldest thing out of settlement 40,000 New Guinea. When 7,000 years ago, crossing of the land bridge, that's the reason why most of the sites in New Guinea are underwater. Most of the sites all over underwater. And when 6,000 years ago, domesticated plants and animals, Cook Swamp. And when cave paintings, 50,000 in Australia, other ones found in the South American Amazon jungle, showing canoes, indicating that people were sailing a lot with sailing canoes, and for example, we know that people from Indonesia sailed over to Melanesia and Micronesia and Vanuatu, but we also know something else. Pottery on the Maluku Islands, Molucca Islands, where originated from, that it started some type of pottery known as the Lapita pottery, which is the early Melanesians are famous for and known for. Let's try it. Have I seen camera? Are we going to start? Let's try it. The history of Oceania. Oceania is a region of northern Australia, South Asia, that region. 50,000 years ago, there were people coming with boats over from southern Asia over to Australia. And the oldest settlements are 40,000 years old, and it is found on New Guinea. Our settlements are not to be found anymore because 5,000 years ago, the connecting big continent land bridge, which connected New Guinea, Tasmania, and Australia, was underwater because the sea level had risen at the point 7,000 years ago. 6,000 years ago, there were coming domesticated plants and animals over from southern Asia to Australia, and people were doing then a bit farming and also trained for a region called Cook Swamp, but many people stayed hunter. And in a 50,000 year old cave painting in Australia was found a picture of canoes, and such like the picturings of canoes were found in other regions all over the Pacific, also in the South American Amazon jungle. And that indicates that the people actually from the same culture stay basically all over the world. And we know also that people from Indonesia sailed over to Melanesia and Micronesia and Vanuatu. But we're also known for something else. On the Molucca Islands, they originated a form of pottery known as tapi, and the early Melanesians are famous for it. And this is according to Metzger's World History, page 92. It's Lapita. I think we're going to do it again. I'm going to not start the camera, we're going to do it again. The history of Oceania. Oceania is the region of northern Australia, southern Asia, that region. And 50,000 years ago, there were people coming with boats over from southern Asia. And the oldest settlement found is 40,000 years old, that is on New Guinea. There are more settlements, but they are underwater now because 7,000 years ago, the sea levels had risen so far that New Guinea and Australia were cut off, and as it was previous, Tasmania, New Guinea and Australia were connected as one big continent, wasn't anymore because the sea level had risen. 6,000 years ago, domesticated plants and animals came over from southern Asia to New Guinea, and some people were doing farming, and also the Cook Swamp were trained, but many people stayed hunter. In Australia was in a cave painting found, which is 50,000 years old, and on that there are canoes depicted, and all over the Pacific, and also in the Southern American Amazon jungle, there are found paintings like that of canoes, indicating that the same people from the same culture sailed all around the world. We know also that people from Indonesia sailed over to Melanesia and Micronesia and Vanuatu, but we also know for something else. There's, for example, the Molucca Island, and there was some pottery done, Lapita pottery, and the early Melanesian people are known for it. And that is according to Metzger's World History, page 92. I think we had. I'm going to set the camera. And that was the Oceania part. If you go here for history, you can go directly to the next part of history. We're going to do no more stretching. If you stay and participate in the stretching management at your own risk. Good and simple stance, we're breathing in from the arms up. Then breathe out, you're going out to one side. Breathe in into the middle. Out over to the other side. Breathe in into the middle. Out the arms down. Breathe again in. Out one hand slides down the leg, your shoulder stays down. Breathe again in. And out one arm. Breathe in the rib cage. Out back into the middle. Breathe again in. Out one hand slides down the leg, the other shoulder stays down. Breathe again in. Out one arm. Breathe in open rib cage. Out into the middle. And the exercise. Go to stable stance. Breathe in with the arms up. And breathe out one arm half down. Breathe again in. Out with the arm completely down. Breathe out. Then look up to the head. And breathe in, arm again up. And out to the other side down. Breathe again in. Out to the arm down. And the other side up. And back into the middle. And the arms down. Shoulder circuits. Go to 7 cents and we get going forward. Shoulder circuits. And backwards. And down. Breathe in with the shoulders up. Out let it fall down. And in. No, shoulders down. Okay. No, shoulders down. Now we upper back up. Breathe in with the arms up. And reach always with one arm at a time up. Pretend to take an apple hanging high on an apple branch. Turn it a bit around and then to plug it out. And now, next exercise, we shift our arms up to a T. We're breathing in. And out we go, out to the side. Breathing in. Out into the middle. And out. Breathe again in into the middle. And out to the other side. Again in. And out. Again in. And out, we're leaning onto the knees, the buffalo fighting its hangover exercise. Breathe in. Out one shoulder in front. Again in. And out the other one in front. In and shoulder back. And out the other one in front. In. And out. In and shoulder back. And out we hang down the Niagara Falls. Just keep breathing normally in. And out. Again in. And out over to one leg. Breathe again in. Out over to the other leg. Breathe again in. And out into the middle. Breathe again in. And out and close the feet on the side of Angelo. Just keep standing normal breathing with feet closed now. Breathe in. And out. Again in. And out. Again in. Now we're coming slowly the third back up and making a lift up the backwards shoulder. We're going to pose. Toss up onto the outside, roll it into the heels. We're breathing in with the arms up and we're sinking down. We're placing the elbows into the inside of the knees. We're breathing in and straightening up. And out we're coming with the back up. Again in. And out again. Again in. And last time in. Out we're coming slowly in one straight line upwards and we're playing also hands down. And we're ending with a trunk igniter. We're breathing in, count down. And we're out. Out. Last drop it in. Out. Out. Nourish it. Close the legs. And breathe out. That was the stretching. I thank you very much, and until next time.